Government Commission. I call this meeting to order. Could we have the roll call, please?
Larry Fullington?
Here.
Zoe Bartholomew?
Here.
You need to speak into the mic, Donna. And actually, it won't work there. Let me do it. Zoe Bartholomew.
Here.
Larry Fullington.
Here.
Bonnie Silvera.
Here. Could we all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Boy, the sun. A reference to the fundamental rights to the public. A plaque stating the fundamental rights of each member of the public is posted at the entrance to the to the council room per section 4.04.030 of the City of Benicia Ordinance number 05-6, Open Government Ordinance. If you require special assistance in order to participate in this meeting, we ask that you make your needs known, and we will do our best to accommodate you. In the future, if possible, we ask that you contact the city's ADA coordinator at 746-4200 48 hours prior to the meeting, which enables staff to make reasonable arrangements to ensure accessibility to the meeting. Are there any announcements or presentations?
There are none.
We need adoption of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda?
There are no changes.
This sun is terrible. I need a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We've received, we have a motion to approve.
I'll do the roll call.
Okay.
Commissioner Fullington?
Yes.
Commissioner Bartholomew?
Yes.
Commissioner Silvera?
Yes. So we've come to the part for public comment. Since we have quite a few cards here, I suggest that we have a 3-minute rather than a 5-minute.
So the commission will need to take a vote on that, and we should also note for the record there's 2 written comments. One is a comment from Working Families for a Strong Benicia, and another one is Anti-Birdseye PAC tries to stop forum, threatens to sue city article, and that is also on the side table. But if the commission would like to limit the comment to 3 minutes, that would be acceptable, since our main purpose of this forum is the forum. And if there's additional comments at the end, we can always stay for more comments at the end.
I need a motion, right?
Motion to change the minutes to 3 minutes.
Second.
Could you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Fullington?
Yes.
Commissioner Bartholomew?
Yes.
Commissioner Silvera?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I am so sorry, everybody. This light is just right at this point. Okay, so public comment. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons wishing to address the commission on any matter not on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the commission. State law prohibits the commission from responding to or acting upon matters not listed on the agenda. Each speaker has a maximum of 3 minutes for public comment. If others have already expressed your position, you may simply indicate that you agree with the previous speaker. If appropriate, a spokesperson may present the views of your entire group. Speakers may not make personal attacks on council members, commission members, staff, or members of the public, or make comments which are slanderous or which may invade an individual's personal privacy. And I might add, too, that would include the candidates. We have a very important agenda item this morning, and we would like to be respectful of everyone's time. Do we have anyone who would like to speak under public comment? And I do have some cards. So the first card that I have is for Bob Jennings.
And And we might need to pause here because I forgot about that mic. All right, I'm going to hand you the mic.
This don't work? Well, I probably speak loud enough anyway.
Well, hopefully it's going to go down soon. Or up. Something. It's going somewhere.
Yeah. Thank you for letting me speak today. Good morning. My name is Bob Jennings. I am a retired pipe fitter and the Northern California representative for the State Building and Construction Trades Council based in Sacramento that represents nearly 500,000 hardworking Californians throughout the state. I am here on behalf of the council and the independent expenditure campaign that the trades are running and funding here in Benicia. There's been a lot said about our efforts in Benicia around this election. But let me make it absolutely clear. We have been in Benicia for decades, working here and representing thousands of workers who live or work in Benicia. We have every right to be here and an actual obligation to participate in this election as our members are depending on us to be here and to fight for their interests. Benicia is a beautiful town that is fortunate to still have the luxury of an industrial tax base. And I say a luxury because you only have to drive over to Crockett to see what happens when a city that flourished with an industrial tax base loses that tax base. It's Detroit all over again. I understand that the purpose of this forum is to discuss hit pieces against the candidate. I assume you're talking about us when you talk about hit pieces. We are proud of what we've done in Benicia, and we are proud to be representing our members here in town. Some of you seem determined to characterize our campaign as one run by one of our employers here in town. That characterization is not only dishonest, but it's also disrespectful to every member we represent and the dozens of young apprentices that knocked on doors in this town for the last couple of weeks. I myself have knocked on doors for the last 2 weeks every night, and I'm an old guy. And I've spent every evening calling through a list of hundreds of trades members who live and vote in Benicia. We are here because we support our members' jobs. And in doing so, we are supporting Benicia's schools and public safety as well.
It should work.
Oh, that should work? Okay. I thought you were running me off there for a minute. I'll repeat what I just said. We are here because we support our members' jobs, and in doing so, we're supporting Benicia's schools and public safety as well. Running a forum that limits what people can talk about or limits who can talk or is designed to support a single candidate at taxpayers' expense is downright un-American. And trying to shame people or bully them into staying out of a good fight is what's happening in Washington, D.C. now every day. I have to say, and I have to say, at the Building Trades, we ain't buying it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. So we have a little rule in the chamber, and if you could just hold your applause. If you'd like to raise your hand if you agree with the speaker, that's fine, but we ask that you comply to that. The next person to speak is Cronin.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Cronin. I work for Local 8, the International Union of Elevator Constructors. I'm probably the least informed person here, but anytime I find in any way any attack coming down on the local unions and the hardworking people that keep not only the state, this country, and especially the city going, I take it in offense. I'm very young. I started my family here in Benicia, and the local trades has kept my family going and kept me in a comfortable place. Many people here have probably spent a lot of time trying to get their life together, establishing nice, comfortable cushions financially and mentally, and my local union has helped me establish that. Here in Benicia, everybody seems to really love this city. We have a lot of history here, and not only my local, but my company that I work for that is local to Benicia helps protect some of the buildings that have historical significance here. We service the clock tower, we service the commander's house, the Union Hotel, and many of the businesses on First Street. Any attack in any way on that, I do not support, and I urge everybody to ensure the future of Benicia is strong by keeping the local trades going. That's pretty much all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. The next card that I have is Carl Ronquil. Am I saying it right? Okay.
Morning. My name is Carl Ronquillo, and I'm a resident of Benicia, and I'm an apprentice from Local 180, and I support candidates who support our jobs. That's pretty much what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Jason Galea.
Hello, my name is Jason Galley. I'm the president of the Ironworkers Local 378, located over here at 3120 Bayshore Road, Benicia. That's our headquarters. Right next door, 3150 is our apprenticeship facility, which currently we have 1,600 apprentices enrolled right now. Just a little bit about the ironworker. As most people drive to work, and they do, they cross the bridges that pretty much the ironworkers built. The one right here closest is the Zampa Bridge, also right here to Benicia Martinez. And we're also recognized for all our high-rise, our apartment buildings and structures all over the Bay Area. And also the engineering's fourth wonder of the world, the Golden Gate Bridge. Before that, it was the third wonder of the world, is the Empire State Building. We believe over here at our training facility, when we train our apprentices to go out to some of the local contractors right here in Benicia, and I'd like to name a few of them: Conco Reinforcing, Alameo Rebar, California Erectors, Romac Ironworks, which has been in business since 1911, Quality Erectors, and C.E. Tolley & Sons. Most of these contractors 50 years or more. These contractors go and build the infrastructure and the buildings right here in the Bay Area, and they require a highly skilled, trained person to do so. We do that right at the training facility with a 4-year apprenticeship program. We like to call it the University of Iron. At the University of Iron, at the end of their 4 years of training, they can use those college credits they earned as an apprenticeship to further their careers in engineering, project management, and even labor law. The sky's the limit is what we encourage our apprentices to do. We have nearly over 200 workers that live right here in Benicia with their families. We've been running a campaign out of our hall for this election because it matters to our members. Every night for the last couple of weeks, I've been talking to voters door to door with young iron workers, some here today, who understand that in order for them to have a future, to someday buy a house in the town, much like Benicia, and raise a family, they need to be on the front lines creating and protecting jobs. We have to stand up for industrial jobs here in Benicia and every other place in California. We need leaders in Benicia and throughout California who stand with us and our jobs, and sometimes that means standing up against people who don't stand with us. The characterization of the campaign is not about Benicia. I want to say it again. The ironworkers have been here for 3 decades. We have hundreds of members who live and work in Benicia. We have both the right and an obligation to be here fighting for them. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next card that I have is Devin Versace.
Hello, my name is Devin Versace, and I am the face of the resistance. I was a successful grassroots political activist in Louisiana with statewide name recognition before moving to California 3 decades ago. But I grew up in Detroit, and I know what happens when you run off your major industry. I've seen that firsthand, and it's not pretty. I am pro-industry, I am pro-union, and I am pro-jobs. I am for Larga Spada and Strowbridge, and I am against the progressive Democrats of Benicia who are trying to take this town in a radical, extremist, leftist direction. That's not true. That is far, far, far to the left of the average Venetian.
Please limit your, please do not mention any names. This is
Okay,
a
no
campaign
more names.
forum here.
We moved to from Los Angeles to Benicia with our 2 toddlers 13 years ago, and we think this is a phenomenal city, and we want to keep it the way it was when we moved here 13 years ago. My wife and I have been involved in all sorts of volunteer activities, such as PTA, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, the band program, St. Dominic's Parish, Knights of Columbus, and many, many more. As coordinator for the Coalition for a Better Benicia, I'm representing the silent majority of Venetians, the families of Southampton, and all families in Benicia, and everywhere in Benicia, who are going to resist, I won't name any names, people's radical plans to make Benicia into some kind of hemp paradise. We are opposed to recreational pot shops in our family-friendly G-rated town, which will lower our property values by hundreds of millions of dollars, increase crime and vagrancy, and coarsen the character of our town. How dare you? Okay? It will generate less tax revenue that it will cost the police in terms of increased enforcement. In order to raise $1.45 million, 1 out of 10 Venetians must smoke 8 joints a day, 365 days a year, and buy all of it from those shops. Do you think that's going to happen? Of course it's not. Of course it's not going to happen. We're opposed to the mayor's new ordinance that gives organized crime a red carpet to enter our town with unlimited major manufacturing, grow, and distribution operations in the industrial park.
Yes.
I'm sorry. We are opposed to the city council's plan, which voted by a 3-2 vote overriding the majority of the will of the people of this town to implement this ridiculous ordinance. We oppose the outrageous and totally outrageous and unnecessary water fees that are not needed and being shoved down our throat. We oppose the 400% increase in permit fees, which are not needed. We are going to put out a ballot initiative on Wednesday.
Mr. Versace.
Mr. Versace.
Recalling the vice mayor.
So, Mr. Versace,
Versace, please.
Mr. Versace, your time is up.
Your time is up.
I'd like to continue speaking, please.
No, Mr. Versace.
We want...
Mr.
Send a message. We don't want the water bills. We don't want the water bills shoved down our throat. We do not want pot shoved down our throat.
Mr. Versace.
Please take your seat.
Thank you.
So, Chair Sil. Chair Silvera.
Yes.
I would like to remind the audience that Benicia is known for its civil meetings. We have some new folks here who apparently are not aware of how we do things. Is that better? I am not good at the mayor's mic. It's a hard one. So please, everybody, be civil. If you agree with the speaker's comment, our practice is to raise your hand and not call out other people. People may be saying things we don't agree with. For the most part, it's easier if we just let them talk and move on. You can get up and address them at your own chance. Let's not drag this out any further than we have to. We want to get to the main order of business. So please keep your remarks civil and on topic.
Moving on, Mark Flubel.
Good morning. My name is Mark Flubel. I'm a business agent for the Heat and Frost Insulators. Good morning. My name is Mark Flubel. I'm a business agent for the Heat and Frost Insulators and Allied Workers. I'm here today in support of Kristina Strowbridge and Lionel Espada. They're responsible.
Please, again, I'd like to repeat, this is not a forum to come up and support your candidates.
Okay. I'm in support of responsible city council. There are certain people that are responsible and there are certain people that are not. There's people that look after jobs, the environment, no matter what the decision is. Nobody here is paying anybody off to get in these positions. These positions, the people we support are people that do the right things. Their ideas are the same as our ideas, and they do the right things. The other council members already have their opponents have their ideas of what they want to do already. They're not going to change their minds. They already have their agendas. They want to shut down refineries. They want to get rid of jobs. And they want, I don't know who to pay the taxes in this town. Who's going to do it? Is it going to be the small business owners? They don't want to pay higher taxes. The tax revenue comes from business in this town, and you don't want to chase that off. Thank you.
Thank you. The next one I have is Dani Bernardini.
Good morning. My name is Dani Bernardini. I'm the business manager for the Napa Solano Building and Construction Trades Council. The last time I was in this council chamber, I was speaking to the fact that our current council was using the city attorney to further political goals. As they were filing with FPPC, happy to announce that that decision was disregarded. So I'm just hoping that we can get back to doing business for the city and not for the political gain of anyone. And during this campaign, I believe this IE has been called, special interest. And, we have very special interests. It's the workers and our members and the city. And so when someone puts them under attack, we're definitely going to respond. And as far as contributions being given back, I'm sorry that had to happen. I'm sorry that in this city, it's been decided that accepting any donations is wrong. And so again, we are here. I represent members in this city. We might not see us a lot because there's not a whole lot of growth in this city and there's not a whole lot of things being built. And so when our members did get represented at the refinery, then we were here. And so that's why we're here and that's why we're interested and that's why we take part in elections. So call it special interest all you want. We'll own that, we'll wear that because we are very interested in our members, our cities that we represent. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ann Lazo.
Hello, my name is Ann Lazo. We moved to Benicia because of the school district, and when Marijuana Part A and B came on the subject, we were here till 1:20 in the morning. I was here with the Parent Teachers Student Association of Benicia Middle School, Benicia High School, the Fore Elementary School, which is Robert Semple, Matthew Turner, where my kids went to school, Joe Henderson, and Mary Farmer, where my family went to school. I just want to be heard about Measure E, because I feel like Measure E wasn't really publicized as much. We just saw signs like 2 days before Halloween. We have 550 people that came to Waters End. That's where I live. The year before, there were 650 kids that went trick-or-treating at Waters End. This is all for the safety of the kids. We moved here because of the school district. The city remains great because of the school district. I met people from Tennessee, from Michigan, from Alaska, from San Luis Obispo. But I just want to make sure that this council that's right here, or the forum, you've not been on the council, but the current council, they didn't want to hear us parents that night on Measure A. Someone made a comment up there. I'm not going to say the person's name, but it's probably recorded, because I don't go to very many. This is probably my 6th city council meeting. But I'm definitely not for Measure E. I want to keep Benicia quiet, like its own neighborhood community. Thank you.
Thank you. The next card I have is G. Giblin.
Thank you for this opportunity to speak. And I was enjoying the wonderful fact of some of the best and brightest people in Benicia caring so much about this election and who will be operating our city and what will be happening here. But what I'm feeling is if only the energy could be devoted towards working together and not have the ugliness that happens so much on a national scene or here. We can see what happens when people have been taught to be against one another. And there's, from a person like me who comes from a labor family, a union family, I could never be against workers. I have always been a worker, part of a worker family. But sometimes we're like pawns, and all of a sudden we get caught up in thinking that we are just having to defend our livelihood. And nobody wants to take away your livelihood. It's about our community that we all love. We have natural beauty here, but we also have a community where people love to walk their dogs and see each other and say hello. But after this, if we go into hatred and ugliness, there's going to be walls, and we don't all like walls. There's going to be walls here between neighbors. And so my plea as an older person and a person who respects the Native American traditions of 7 generations is to look forward and and get all that wonderful masculine energy that I feel in this room working with the female energy. We can make this a wonderful situation. We don't have to be against someone. We can be for our community. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Kristina Bowman. Is Kristina Bowman in the room? Oh, over in the other room? She's coming, okay.
Bonnie, maybe call a couple names so they can be ready.
Okay, and after Kristina is Kenneth Bowman?
Hi, sorry, we were in the overflow room. Just caught my breath here.
Okay.
I am an educator. I've lived in Benicia for 22 years. My husband's family has lived here for, well, his great uncle was on city council, so a long, long time. I am family in Benicia, child, have another one as well. My biggest concern is making sure that the environment for our children's health is the healthiest that can be out there. And what I'm looking for in candidates is people who have a healthy balance between the future, and I'm sorry, the future is solar and sustainability. And there are jobs in that field too. But I also, obviously, being an educator, being a teacher, am very supportive of unions, and I'm very cognizant of the fact that people need to have jobs and livelihoods. I don't want to see Benicia become a ghost town. But I also want to make sure that we don't have money influencing our votes in Benicia. And what I've seen recently with all of this smear is fake news. And it's unfortunate because it really brings into mind the federal election, which has just been absolutely horrific, not only as a parent for the future. My children even know about the federal election. And I want to see how we can make Benicia cutting edge, how we can make Benicia at the forefront of what new innovations are coming through the pipeline. And I'm concerned that companies who are only looking at right now, the bottom line, their profit, are influencing our not only elections, but our city council choices. I have yet to see any evidence that certain candidates are, quote, killing jobs. I would like to see evidence of that. I have yet to see any evidence that certain candidates want Valero to, quote, go away immediately. I've seen evidence that candidates are looking for progressive solutions to the future for the health of our children so my children can breathe. My son has asthma. He had an asthma attack the other night, so bad at 3 a.m. that we were this close to taking him to the ER. And you don't want to go to the ER in Vallejo at 3 a.m., trust me, unless it's really, really bad. And luckily, we were able to get his breathing under control. I moved to California, moved to Benicia. I'd never used an inhaler in my life. 2 years after I moved here, I had my first inhaler needed episode. So I just really want to make sure that we are smart and we are not just looking at today or tomorrow, but we are looking into the future and making choices that these little kids who go to Benicia schools, that's why we move here, are really taken care of and their voices are heard. Thank you.
Thank you. The next card is Kenneth Bowman.
Hi, I'm Kenneth Bowman. I just want to say, the union workers and everyone here today, you guys came out in numbers, which my stepfather was a very proud union member. Nothing against union members, and I'm not sure what candidate wouldn't want jobs in our town. I think we all do. I hear a lot of paranoia, a lot of people being afraid of things to come. One of my good friends is second in charge of one of the refineries in town. The reality is we drive cars. Okay, the refinery's not going away. Nobody said that it's going away tomorrow or anything like that, so it's just paranoia. For us, we care about our town, we care about the environment, and I care about this person right here being treated fairly instead of the smear campaign that's gone on. I don't like it, it's ugly, it's appalling to me, and looking on Facebook and seeing this on a daily basis, it's getting bombarded to me. I don't appreciate it, it's insulting. We were just on NPR the other day, and I don't think we need to be on NPR for negativity and for the refinery putting all this money in because they're afraid of it going away. It's not going to go away anytime soon, no matter who's on that council. That's just not going to happen. But I do care about us being polite, being respectful of each other, and you know what? I've always cared about the iron workers and everybody else. My stepfather was a pipe fitter. And you know what? What I see right now and the money and the stuff and the negativity that I hear, that wouldn't make my stepfather proud. It doesn't make me proud. And I think it's embarrassing. And you know what? I don't think any of you really want to do that because you've really changed my view right now in this time period of, wow, I'm blown away that people could stoop so low and try to treat someone like they're not human, And I've been in this town since I was born, and I couldn't be born here because there wasn't a hospital. But this is my town, and I care about it deeply. And you don't need to be afraid, but we want what's best for our town, taking care of it for the future of Benicia. Thank you.
Thank you. The next card is Kathy Carriage.
Good morning. I wasn't quite sure we'd have this big comment period, otherwise I would have come a little bit more prepared. I've lived in Benicia for 33 years now. I was a union member for 13 years, and I've always been proud to be a union member, except now. The smear campaign, the negative advertising, with absolutely no basis in fact, no basis in anything that any of the candidates have said, completely unsubstantiated smear campaign that is being, every time you turn on the internet, you see a negative ad with nothing to back it up. Just total mudslinging has made me very ashamed. And if you can't be ashamed of that kind of campaign, I don't know what you can be ashamed of. In the next election, are we going to hear people being called child killers, child molesters? Because that's about how much lower you have to go. So a campaign that is based upon nothing but lies and nothing but, I don't know, innuendo with absolutely nothing that backs up the things being said, to me, is just appalling. And like the speaker before, it makes me really question my alliance to unions, because I have always been a firm supporter of union. As I mentioned, I was a union member for 13 years. And now I'm like, my God, what are they doing? They're stooping to the lowest common denominator to get somebody to go against somebody who, as far as I know, has never said any of the things they're claiming she said. It just is appalling to me. I'm also quite appalled that this PAC tried to stop this forum from going on. To me, that is just a clear trying to silence the public opinion. And to call this, I mean, this is a forum that was provided for in our municipal ordinance. That ordinance has been in effect for years. It's designed specifically to counter this type of negative, slanderous campaign. And to say that they want to even stop this from happening, I mean, my gosh, what kind of control do they want over our town? I'm appalled. I hope that we don't see this kind of campaigning in the future, because it really turns off a lot of people. And it makes me really question who has Benicia's best interests in mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Pat Toth-Smith.
Hi, I'm here just to talk about my experience with what I've received in the mail and what kind of smears I've seen. I also want to add, I'm an ex-nursing union president, and to me, to be talking in any way, shape, or form against a union is a complete shock, because I worked within the union industry for a long time. I represented 50 nurses at a position I had. And so for me to stand here and be fighting against a union is so ironic in my life. I even had thought at one point of being a labor lawyer. So I'm sorry if I have to do this, but I have to do this. I have received personally 6 glossy flyers in the mail. 4 of them had 2 candidates on it and a total smear bigger than everything else on the other candidate. 4. I received 5 phone calls. 2 were on my business line machine, and in every single phone call it was positive about 2 candidates, and then telling me absolutely not to vote for another candidate because she is a so-called job killer, which I find very offensive. I received on my personal Facebook feed 3 ads showing this candidate with all these awful lines written across her face about job killing and things like that. The one that really, really bothered me was the one that my daughter texted me from high school. She was on the school computer on Britannica looking up government policy information in her junior year, and she got the same ads that I got on my computer. With one of, and let me add, one of the candidate's son is in my daughter's grade. So if my daughter is getting these smear ads, her son is getting these smear ads too. And I think that's pretty darn pathetic. And it was a picture of one of the candidates with job killer over her face, and then another one with bad for Benicia all around her face. And this is what my daughter texted me, because she knows I am friends with one of the candidates and wanted me to be aware. And she said, "Mommy, is this okay?" And I said, "No, it isn't okay. It isn't okay you're getting this at school." So I can't believe our children are being brought into this, and one of the candidates' sons are being brought into this. So yes, I'm angry. I'm angry about that. And I think what we need to do is run on our record. We don't need to run on smear campaigns. If you think you're a good candidate for city council, it has to be on your record, not on the bad things you say about somebody else. And I guess I want to end it there, because, and I want to just say for people in this room, could you raise your hand if you've gotten a lot of negative stuff on the candidate? Please, everybody raise their hand. So you can see I'm not alone. Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa Ryerson? I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name.
Hello, it's Lisa Reinertson. That's fine. I actually was a little taken by surprise because I understood that we were to come and have cards for questions for everybody in regards to the topic of this hit campaign that's happening, and that if people wanted to speak ahead of time, it needed to be off topic. And so most of us did not come prepared to come and speak to this topic ahead of time. If I had known that was the policy, I would have been prepared. I think a lot of other people would have been prepared. So I was a little shocked and taken aback to see a whole series of people connected to the unions seem to know that they were going to be able to do this, where the rest of us did not think that this was what was being asked to do. So I guess when I put my name out, it was really as a point of order that I didn't think that this was following the procedures we were asked to follow today. So that's really all I had to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to come to the podium to speak? If not, public comment is closed. The next item on the agenda is the consent calendar. Items listed on the consent calendar are considered routine and will be enacted, approved, or adopted by one motion unless a request or removal or explanation is received from a commissioner, staff, or a member of the public. Our one item on the consent calendar is of the minutes. Does anyone need to pull the minutes? May I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Point of order.
I don't need to go into detail, but I did send an email to the city attorney requesting that a change be made in the minutes because it mischaracterized a comment that I had sent by email. I raised the question of bias. I did not accuse anyone of bias, and I wanted that to be noted in the minutes.
Thank you. That will be corrected.
Motion to approve the minutes with the recommended changes.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Fullington?
Yes.
Commissioner Bartholomew?
Yes.
Chair Silvera?
Yes. Okay, so now we're getting ready to start our... Okay, so now we'll start our public candidates forum. This is our main item on the agenda. The Open Government Commission, we're going to talk about our roles, right? Mm-hmm. So I will be the moderator. Zoe and Larry have fielded the questions that will be given to me to be asked. And now I'm going to turn it over to staff to have a staff report.
And we also have Zoe acting as timekeeper. She has the cards in front of her and the stopwatches, so she will hold them up when it's time for the candidates to stop talking. So I just want to clarify, it got a little bit confusing here because we've had the best turnout ever for one of our Open Government Commission meetings. We hope you come more often. So thank you all for coming out. The purpose of the forum is to educate and inform voters. So it's not to campaign for or against one voter. So please try and restrain your remarks so that they're for and against. It's to address the last-minute hit pieces. It's going to allow the candidates the opportunity to respond to the inflammatory statements and misinformation that may be out there. So you all have written comments or questions on 3x5 cards, and they will be asked of the candidates. Each question will be asked of all the candidates. We have weeded out the questions because some of the questions are essentially campaigning statements, and that's not the purpose of this Open Government Commission forum. It's not a debate, it's just to address the last-minute hit pieces. And many of you have asked similar questions, so those have been similarly, we hope, weeded down. All the questions are going to be asked by residents of Benicia, members of nonprofits in Benicia, or business entities in Benicia. Here are the details. Those are the candidates up there. Yay! We will draw the candidates' order of speaking, and so we'll have candidate A speak first, then candidate B, candidate C, candidate D, and then we'll rotate the order through so nobody gets the advantage or disadvantage if there is any. If you have questions during the forum, please pass them up here, and we'll pass them on to our trustee team of Open Government Commission members, and then they will finally be read by the moderator. Each of the candidates has a 2-minute opening statement they can do. We've got cards to show you when it's getting to 30 seconds of time up, and then I think it's 15 seconds? Yeah. But for answering the questions, the time is 1 minute. And 1 minute actually seems to be pretty long when we're timing it out, and it's worked very well for us in the past. Each candidate gets a 2-minute closing statement as well. And we ask the candidates to speak to the issues, not to make personal comments about everybody else, and please try and stay on topic. We're going to try and have this forum end promptly at 11, so we'll all do our best. We didn't expect so much public comment, but we do have public comment because it is a meeting of the Open Government Commission. And so under our Open Government Ordinance and the Brown Act, we're required to have general public comment like that. And if you want to see how it went later on, you can watch it on replay. It'll be on Benicia TV. You go onto the agenda page of the city, click on Open Government Commission, and later on, the video will be posted there. We're also replaying it on Channel 99, AT&T Uverse, and Comcast Channel 27. The replays are tomorrow and Monday. I guess those are both at 7 p.m. according to my notes. All right, so I will go upstairs and draw the names.
So we will begin with our number A, which is Lionel Esparga. Do you want to begin?
I do. Good morning. I want to start out by saying that I am honored to sit up here with Kristina and Will and Carrie. Even though we have different viewpoints, I respect, but most importantly, admire their passion for this community. And I also appreciate their civility. I think everyone up here has run a positive campaign. The timer isn't on. Oh, pardon. I am not aware of anyone who has uttered a single negative statement about anyone sitting up here, and I think that is something that I appreciate. I think it's something that the community does as well. For myself, I have chosen to run a campaign that's focused on issues. Since day one, we've been talking about finding solutions to rising water and sewer costs, expanding road repair, economic development, and public safety. In Benicia, as well as anywhere across this great country, people have the right to agree and disagree with each other. It is part of the process. But derogatory statements, in my opinion, are out of bounds. I think it degrades the election process that deserves respect, and no one deserves to be the focus of that. And that's why I have firmly and publicly rejected all forms of negative activity since this began. I appreciate everyone for coming out. I wish we were here under different circumstances, but I think it is important that residents, constituents, stakeholders have the right to express themselves, but more importantly, that each candidate has the opportunity to correct misinformation and or clear things up, so to speak. I also hope that during our question and answer period that collectively, because I think you've got 4 smart, great people up here, can find some creative solutions so that we can preserve our election process going forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next candidate, Kristina Strowbridge.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you to the Open Government for hosting this. Thank you all for attending. Change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change we seek. That's from Barack Obama. Running for office is not waiting to make a difference. Having served for 5 years on the City Council, I found it to be an eye-opening experience on how a full-service city works and the range and depth of issues, the isolation, outside pressures, and character misrepresentations. It takes a tough skin to run for office and to serve. It's not easy for the candidate and even harder for the family and friends and supporters who want to defend your honor and the truth. Since 2016, I have continued my efforts on behalf of Benicia. I've served on the Benicia State Parks Association, the Benicia Main Street Board, and the Benicia Old Town Theater Group. Benicia, unfortunately, has become a microcosm of the country. There has been change in how we treat each other. It's easy to make judgment about someone you don't know behind a computer screen. The real change through this experience has been within myself. It is one of the most important jobs I will ever have done, and I'm so thankful for the opportunity, when elected, to serve Benicia again. Thank you.
Next is Candidate Birdseye.
Good morning. I thank the Open Government Commission for this opportunity, and I thank everybody for turning out. Since 2008, this type of forum has only been needed twice, and it's very unfortunate that it's been needed this year. While I appreciate the comments during the open comment period about saving jobs, we are here for one reason, because there was a negative campaign against me. I am not a job killer. I support your jobs. I support all 6,000 workers in Benicia. My grandfather and uncle were iron workers. They worked on every single bridge in the Bay Area. They would be ashamed at the negative campaign waged against me. Why am I running for City Council? Economic diversity and sustainability, access to clean water and clean air, and being a good neighbor in City Hall. Apparently, that makes me a threat. I am not naive. I knew it would be a tough race, but I had no idea that this would become an election season that reflects the divisiveness we are witnessing at the national level. I truly believe that what has happened in Benicia is happening in many towns, cities, and counties across the nation. A fading fossil fuel industry is pouring money into towns like ours across the country. If I'm the poster candidate for that hate and fearfulness, then I wear that badge bravely. Thank you.
The next candidate, William Ames Jr.
Okay, I'm very pleased that all of us recognize that Benicia in every regard has very high standards. Among those high standards are our police department. I'm sure all of us recognize Officer Cruz, who ably served us a moment ago. We should recognize him. On October 12th, Jan Gulovich stated to the Herald, directly she stated, "So far, all that we have heard from the other candidates are excuses and justifications for the disreputable conduct, etc." That is not true. On October 1st, I emailed the City Council, our city manager. It is a matter of record that I complained directly about the push-pull, or at least the intent of it. And what I stated directly in that remark was that I expected the perpetrator to be punished to the fullest extent of the law. Going forward on what the media has done during this time, we have not been served by the media. Roger Straw is fully entitled to his right to free speech. I'm sorry, some of the bloggers have been fully entitled to their right to free speech, but when they begin to appear that they're covering the campaign and they do not repost all the remarks that are relatively made, then that goes over the line. That's deception. They should compare themselves to KQED. That's the standard. that KQED, their coverage is the standard, and the bloggers in Benicia are not meeting that standard.
Thank you. So now we'll begin with the questions. And the first question that I have to ask, and we'll begin with Lionel, how have the negative ads affected your campaign and campaign message?
Well, it hasn't affected my message, because the message is about finding solutions to rising water sewer costs, expanding road repair and economic development along with public safety. How has it affected the campaign? I'll be candid. It's been a challenge. It's been exhausting. It was unexpected, and I've been disappointed. But what I've seen out on the street, walking and knocking and meeting folks around town, it has been extraordinarily positive. At the end of the day, most folks in town understand the notion that we are all neighbors, despite our differences and our diversity. And I think it's something that most Benicians embrace.
Next, Kristina.
Thank you. I, too, have tried to stay on message, try to stay positive. It is exhausting to see what's on the social blogs. I've weighed in on a few, but if I tried to do it, it would become a full-time job. This campaign has turned ugly, and Benicia doesn't deserve that. Our residents don't deserve it. All of us have a record to run on. And as Lionel said, none of us have really attacked each other. It's people that are supporters, people that feel very strongly, and they have every right to do that. But it also can take you off message. You become very defensive. I had a woman that I knocked on her door last week, and she immediately said she didn't like me. And it's like, why? Why don't you like me? And she was flustered. She couldn't really tell me why she didn't like me. But you know, I'm a likable person, so it was tough. I mean, I had lots of other positive people say things, but that's the one you remember. Thanks.
Next, Carrie.
How has the negative campaign affected my campaign? I, too, have remained positive. I think it has definitely toughened me up. I thought I was tough coming into the race, and I'm even tougher now. What I've seen on social media is very passionate people on both sides, and there should be always civil discourse. However, we are here today because of the negative ads. The negative ads that the public has addressed that have job killer over my face, that have Birdseye is bad for Benicia. That is untrue. I have served this community for the last 2 decades in our schools and through city government since 2012. I love Benicia, and that's where I kept my campaign.
Thank you. Will?
Okay, all the candidates witnessed a member of a forum all but lunge at me in response to something I said. All of us have been subjected to this. This participant, this individual, stood up and said, "I don't care about the health in Benicia." That was incredible. I have already answered that question, Donna. The Benicia Herald ran a full-page statement that I made on October 14th. On October 14th in the Herald, I said that none of us have made any negative comments. I said that the system is out of control. I said what we all deeply believe. We all believe this reflects something nationally, and that we have an opportunity to stop it here in Benicia with this election.
Thank you. So the next question, we're going to rotate with how the candidates start, and so Kristina will be the next candidate to start this. PAC Finance reports detailed use of poll data paid to Valero. Please discuss the relationship between the push-pull and the legal PAC campaigning.
Okay, the push-pull just recently was allowed. They said it wasn't a push-pull. There was a lot of conflicting information on what was said during those polls. And it was admitted by Valero that they were behind that. Also, when Valero and the PACs filed, which they're by law have to, on 497s, the questions that they asked were offered, and also the money that came into from the different PACs. So, again, a lot of this is not new to Benicia. We've had this happen in several other elections, but never to the degree it's happened this time. Thanks.
So next would be Carrie.
The relationship between the push-pull and the PAC is that the results of that poll were sold by Valero to the PAC for use in the negative campaign against me. The push-pull was designed to figure out messaging that works in our community. And what they found through that poll was that I was a very viable candidate. And that's why there's $180,000 spent against me. And that's why the ads continue to flood into our community, to our schools. Everywhere we are, we can't get away from the negative campaigning.
Thank you. Will?
Okay. To the extent that I understand the situation, the difference is that at the time that it was given, the push-poll was anonymous. They had not said who they were, and they did not say who they had financed it. So when it had come down to a political action committee, they followed all the rules. That's the difference to the extent that I understand it. Unfortunately, negativity is legal. It does not contribute to civil discourse. It doesn't do anything for us, whether it's legal or not.
Thank you. The next question will begin, excuse me. Oh, Lionel, sorry.
Yes, present. I'm still here.
Sorry.
Push-pull, I just want to restate that the moment this came out, I went public in my disappointment and opposition or objection to the push-pull. The issue with the push-pull is there is essentially a loophole in the law that is so big you can drive a truck through it. If we want to address and resolve the push-pull, what we need to do, and whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, is to put pressure on your respective parties and our elected officials. Because under the law, so long as you are gathering information for research purposes, and EMC is a research firm, you have no legal obligation to disclose who you are. We can change that, but to change that, the people need to put pressure on their parties and their elected officials, because these folks in Sacramento have taken no legislative effort to address this whatsoever, because they exploit the loophole for their own purposes. And so in the end, again, I objected to the loopholes. The way to fix this is to put pressure on our elected officials in Sacramento.
Thank you. So now, Carrie, you'll start the answering sequence. What have you done within the past 3 weeks to stop the negative campaigning from Valero, the unions, on one candidate?
There's not much I can do up against such a formidable PAC and support for that PAC financially. But what I can do today is ask the candidates that were endorsed by this PAC to publicly state that the claims and statements made by Valero and their unions are inaccurate, and such negative campaigning has no place in Benicia. Can you tell me that those statements, that smear campaign waged against me. Are those statements true? And do you condone the negative campaign here in Benicia? And I hope you use your time on this question to answer that.
So, Will?
Okay. As a former recording secretary of my carpenters union, I directly wrote a letter to Ken Miller, the organizing business agent of the ironworkers, and I referred the letter to Paul Adler. It went out, certified return receipt, and I have not yet to receive a response. After 24 hours, within 24 hours after reading about the push-pull, I wrote an email to the city manager, which I have already mentioned to you. When I received one of those negative calls while I was trying to manage my campaign, I received a negative call. I went down to our city attorney's office and I reported. It is very unfortunate that this is occurring here. And all of us know is that we can only do what we can do.
Thank you. Lionel?
Sure. So to answer your question and to answer this question, yes, I disavow all of that. I included that in my opening statement. Derogatory statements, in my opinion, are out of bounds. I've also gone public with that. We have corresponded electronically where the moment that this thing really went over the line that I did reach out and to Valero's Public Affairs to ask them to stop all of this, that I thought it was
But is it untrue?
Say again?
But is it untrue?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
That's the derogatory. For me, it means untrue. As to what I have done in the campaign, I continue to socialize the notion that we are all neighbors, that we should embrace our diversity. I know that people, have different opinions than I do, and I'm okay with that. Carrie and I have different opinions, but I bet you there's probably more that we agree on that we disagree on. And so what I have done on an active basis, because I get this question a lot, is just to remind everyone we are all neighbors and we should all continue to respect each other. And I think most folks are.
Thank you. Kristina?
Yes, I disavowed the negative campaign. I was sickened when I saw these grainy ads of the one that was most offensive to me was that Carrie Birdseye was a yes man. That kind of hit home. I have returned money to the PACs that have supported this effort. And I want to make clear, too, a lot of folks, especially on social media, have seen a lot of these campaign materials with my face on it, with Lionel's face on it. These are independent expenditures. I have no control over the use of my image or the use of my campaign materials. And there is a law that because it is independent, the candidate is not allowed to know about it, and we have no relationship with that kind of negative campaigning. Thanks.
Thank you. So this next question will begin with Will, and the question is, the city has a clean campaign ordinance. Would you support expanding that effort to try and limit the type of campaigning?
Donna, I'm really having trouble hearing. Could you please repeat that for us? I'm sorry.
Sure, and my name's Bonnie.
Bonnie, I'm sorry.
The city has a clean campaign ordinance. Would you support expanding that effort to try and limit this type of campaigning?
Yes, Bonnie, I would support trying to expand it. I've given a lot of thought to that myself. I'm not sure that I have an answer yet. That Councilman Tom Campbell put a lot of energy into a very specific campaign finance ordinances, and they seem to be pretty thorough. And that as we go along, we find out there are all these loopholes. And I have said somewhere in some letter that one result of this campaign will be better ordinances. Apparently, we're going to have to discuss things with PCC and see what they find more acceptable. One possibility, my observation is that maybe the city just got out-lawyered by somebody, and we have to prevent that.
Okay, next, Lionel.
Yeah, so for those that don't know, Benicia actually has a very good clean elections ordinance. There are limits in place, limits on campaigns, limits on individual contributions, on business contributions, and also on direct contributions to PACs. So I think we have a great foundation. So, that said, when it comes to the questions of limits on outside money, that is a First Amendment conundrum. It is unconstitutional, whether we like it or not, to put limits on independent expenditures. That said, Benicia still has an opportunity to defend its process. And what I would propose if I were elected to the next council is what I'm calling, if you can't beat them, join them ordinance. And the idea is it would work this way. If an independent expenditure came in and dropped money that exceeded a certain amount, then that targeted candidate or candidates could then be free to continue to raise more money beyond what is permissible under the ordinance. So they'd basically be able to push back, defend themselves, fight fire with fire, if you will.
Thank you. Kristina?
Okay, I think, as has been mentioned, we have a very open government directive on campaign funds. We all agreed to take to contribute to contribution limits, which meant that we can only raise a certain amount and we can only spend a certain amount. That has been, I think, really, it's been good. It's been very good for the previous elections that I've run in. But as Lionel says, we're getting into First Amendment rights, and that gets back to these independent expenditures. People don't understand that. They just see your face on a campaign material smearing another candidate, and they think you're doing it. So, as we've said, I think it needs to go back to maybe our state legislatures and to have them look at this and to really become more aware of the reality. Thanks.
Thank you. Carrie?
I just feel so fortunate that we even have our local fair campaign ordinance. And the reason that we have our fair campaign ordinance is because there have been attacks on candidates and mayors in the past. And I thank the City Council of 2008 and under the leadership of the mayor and Councilmember Campbell for putting in place what we have today. Otherwise, we wouldn't have the information we have now. I think what we have is working. I think it's worth looking at how we can improve the fair campaign ordinance. The reason why we have $180,000 coming into our campaign is because of Citizens United decision, and that's where it needs to be fixed. Thank you.
Thank you. So the next question I can't even talk. We will begin with Kristina. No, Lionel. I'm trying to, with Lionel. Given the negative comments and assertions about the news of the candidates, how do you see your role working as a council member after the election?
Sure. I've said it before, I think it's projecting and promoting this notion that we're all neighbors. The next council will be diverse. And I think that is a positive thing. I think it's a good thing that we have different points of views because we have different points of view in the community. So I think, my role on the next council, which is, part of a team, is to, bring this community together and find ways to work with everyone. Form political odd couples is what I've called them in the past, because at the end of the day, I think everyone, whoever two people move on, definitely have the best interest in this community in mind, and they want to get things done. And to do that, we just need to set the example by respecting each other and setting the tone. Leaders set the tone in the community. So you will get that from me, is setting a positive tone in this community.
Thank you. Kristina?
Obviously, this campaign has showed there's division in our community, that there is lack of respect, and it's not just with Valero and the city, it's with our residents. With the rollout of the water rates, there's mistrust out there. And as a new council member, I think my role is to regain the trust of our community. It is really, really important that we listen to the community. And it's not just the 15, 30 people that are on social media. As you walk the streets, there are concerns about where we are going as a city. We have an amazing town, and it has so much potential, and we're just scratching the surface. So my thought is that we need to continue a better relationship with Valero, with our union partners, and with our school district to move forward. Thanks.
Thank you. Carrie?
So one of my campaign priorities has been being a good neighbor at City Hall. And that means being a good neighbor to everyone in Benicia, including Valero and their workers. I think it's super important that we improve relations with our largest industrial neighbor. And that's why I think the industrial safety ordinance is so important, because it will better communications with us between the community and Valero. And we need to be respectful in that process. And I think we need to heal what's already been damaged by proposed projects in the past. And so I pledge to do that when I'm on City Council.
Thank you. Will?
Okay, Bonnie, that on my website, at the very end of that website, I'm standing with a man with whom I did a job that none of you would ever do. I was a commercial fisherman. He sailed against a storm. It was the worst night he ever had at sea. And the reason that he sailed was, he tells me, he had to pay for the boat. And so throughout all of my life, I'm older than the rest of these guys here. I've done things that other people would not do. I'm looking at this group, and right in front of me I see two factions, one on my right and another on my left. And I would not leave this room without talking to both of them. And I would hope that the next time they come back into the room together, we'd be a little bit more together. That's exactly what I would do.
Thank you. So the next question is Kristina, but before I begin, I have several more questions here, but they kind of repeat themselves, so I'm sorry if, it's just a different way to say it, I guess. All right, so this question is, if you benefited from a PAC, what did you do to respond to any false or fraudulent claims or irresponsible information impacting you or against your opponents?
Okay, immediately when I saw the 497s and the questions, the campaign, I disavowed. I sent an email to Carrie, along with my fellow candidates, that I was not part of this. I returned money, up to almost $1,700 in PAC money, to the different sponsoring organizations. One thing that is important to know is that oftentimes big money doesn't win. And we saw that in Richmond. We've seen this in different campaigns here in Benicia. And so I think our citizens are pretty smart. I think that they understand and do look at our records and what we're trying to say. So I'm hoping that that will be the case. I, again, disavow myself from these kinds of campaigns. They don't work in Benicia. I'm sorry, negative campaigning does not work here in this town.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Carrie?
The big packed checks never made it to my mailbox. I did not benefit from large PAC money. I did receive 2 checks, one from the Solano County Orderly Growth Committee and of $250, and I haven't had any communications with them. And I received a check from the Progressive Democrats of Benicia, and I appreciate those small donations relative to what was thrown in by the outsiders.
Hey, Will?
Bonnie, I spent less than $2,000 on my campaign, so there we are with that one. But as somebody who has spent some time at sea, I believe the tide is changing, and this is a very important election. I have confidence in the people of Benicia that we will make the right decision. And all of us here know that at the end of the day, money talks, but you don't have to listen.
Thank you. So it's carried this time. Lionel. Oh, I'm sorry. Lionel?
Yeah. So could you repeat the question, because it sounds familiar? I apologize for being...
If you benefited from a PAC, what did you do to respond to any false or fraudulent claims or irresponsible information impacting you or against your opponents?
Oh, okay. So I believe, as previously stated, I did receive two separate PAC contributions. When the campaign went negative, I immediately returned those. All of my campaigns have actually come from individual contributors, our friends, our neighbors, my family. There's one business in the mix. I'm proud of the support I've gotten. I'm also proud of the endorsements I've received. I'm proud of my endorsement from police, from fire, from teachers, from the chamber, as well as our local unions. I sought those, and I'm proud to be supported by them. Now, when a handful of affiliates took a different direction and decided to go derogatory against a candidate, that crossed the line for me. That was something I did not and would not be part of, and hence, thus, I returned those contributions.
Thank you. So Carrie will begin this round. Okay. We, citizens of Benicia, have been bombarded with negative smear ads on our computers and all forms of media stating that Carrie is bad for Benicia. Could you please address your feelings about this statement and whether you have any rebuttals to the negative smear?
I do. So I think at the heart of the PAC smear campaign is fear. People are fearing for their jobs, and I think I represent a clean energy future. I represent a healthy and safe Benicia, and I just want to throw a couple numbers out. You know, clean energy jobs outnumber fossil fuel jobs in the state of California by 430,000. The state employs more energy jobs than any other state, with clean jobs accounting for more than 55% of all energy sector jobs in California. Let's build and grow on that opportunity together.
Thank you. Will?
Could you please repeat the question, Bonnie?
We, citizens of Benicia, have been bombarded with negative smear ads on our computers and all forms of media stating that Carrie is bad for Benicia. Could you please address your feelings about this statement and whether you have any rebuttals to the negative smear?
I certainly don't think that Carrie is bad for Benicia. That my response would be that maybe we've mishandled our discussion, that we're not communicating with each other, and that's why somebody may think that Carrie is bad for Benicia. That's not the case. The case is that we simply do not understand each other. And I think that with a little better communication, things will get a lot better. I found that out walking door to door. Once people understand what the situation is, once they understand why they're sitting in a street that's torn up, they don't feel better, but they understand. I think we need better communication.
Thank you. Lionel?
Sure. I'll say it again. I have tremendous respect for Carrie Birdseye. Carrie Birdseye is a good person. Carrie Birdseye was PTA president when my children were at Matthew Turner. I still have one there. She actually served with my wife, Jennifer. My response to those that, for anyone that chooses to go negative, is just to stay on the right message. The residents only have, they have limited choices, so they will pick one or two candidates. And so my response, and this is what I've been promoting when asked, is just pick a candidate or pair of candidates and just communicate why you support them. We can make choices and keep this positive. And I think despite what we see in social media and in our mailboxes, my conversations with folks around town have been very positive.
Thank you. Kristina?
This question seems to be redundant to what I think we've all said, that we don't agree with the negative campaigning, that we have a number of union workers that came and spoke. They are afraid. They're afraid of the future of the industrial park and Valero. And it's not just Valero, it's the supporting businesses that are out there. This makes up almost 40% or more of our revenue for the city. So again, this gets back to being a better partner with our businesses. This is not only with Valero, with Amports, it's an all-time low down within our business community. We need to rebuild that. That is our revenue source, that industrial park. So we've got to come up with some ideas because if we don't, we're going to have to continue to go back to our citizens for more rate increases and taxes.
Thank you. So this next question will begin with Will. The negative ads say Birdseye wants to close Valero. Do you have any evidence, or have you heard Birdseye say she wants to close Valero?
I've absolutely not heard that. And not only that, that I researched this a little bit before I came here today, and our mayor, to my knowledge, has never said she wanted to close Valero. She said that she wanted to reduce the importance of fossil fuels. There was some unfortunate poetry involved about somebody being drug lords. That may have set some people off. Carrie does not want to close Valero. It doesn't make sense to anybody. Not us, to Benicia, or anyone. That's it. It's real simple. 30 seconds.
Okay. Lionel?
No, there's no evidence, direct or indirect, that Carrie Birdseye wants to close the refinery.
Kristina?
Okay, I think some of this came from Carrie, and it's like, you're right there, Carrie, saying that she doesn't want to close the refinery today or tomorrow. But what about the future? And we do need to figure out how a refinery works in our community, how we help Valero into the 21st century, how we help Valero and the industrial park businesses out there become more of what the future is going to be. We are going to start using less gas. We are using alternative energy, and this city has been a forerunner in that. So I believe that we can work with the refinery for that future. I might be an optimist, but I believe that those people out there, even though a lot of it's San Antonio, I think a lot of these people really care about this community and want to see that future. Thanks.
Carrie?
So another priority of mine is economic diversity and sustainability of our town and being able to afford our full-service city. And doing that means that we need to diversify our economic tax base and prepare for a transition in our industrial park and help Valero be the best neighbor it can be during this transition. And that's been something that I've said at every forum, everywhere I've been, when I knock on doors, when we phone bank, this is our message. We want to help Valero be the best neighbor it can be during this transition period. I drive a gas-powered car. It makes no economic sense to anybody to talk about shutting Valero down.
Thank you. The next round of questions will begin with Lionel. Before the PAC money poured in, the campaign was going smoothly. However, once the $190,000 plus money arrived, the Benicia citizens started fighting each other due to the smear campaign. What will you do to prevent this from happening again?
I think it's, as mentioned before, it is to, with the next council, set the tone in the community, that we are all neighbors, that we should embrace our diversity. It is healthy to have different points of view. I think the next council also needs to work on, setting the priorities for the next, 5 to 10 years, and then work with the community to see those things through. So I think it's setting tone, leading by example, and then finding those issues that are going to benefit the community the most, and following through on those promises. There are a lot of outstanding things that the residents have been waiting for, such as road repair, such as economic development, such as solutions to our rising water and sewer costs. And I think if the next council takes some big steps to address those, starts taking those action items, I think hopefully, we'll have a community that's in a better mood.
Thank you. Kristina?
Bonnie, could you repeat that question?
Oh, sure. Before the PAC money poured in, the campaign was going smoothly. However, once the $190,000 plus money arrived, the Benicia citizens started fighting each other due to the smear campaign. What will you do to prevent this from happening again?
Well, as I said before, I am a positive person. I've run a positive campaign. The additional money out there, the smear campaign, has not changed that. I have tried to run on my record, and I think that we all are trying to run on what we have done in the past and what our vision is for the future. And that is key to all this. As I say, there's a lot of mistrust out there. We've got to rebuild that trust. And it's up to the council to do that, whatever the makeup of. And it comes from the top, too. It comes from our mayor, our vice mayor, the other council members that are there, that they need to show that they understand this division that's out there. We need to work together as a team. Thanks.
Thank you. Carrie?
I think I'll be good at working together as a team if elected. I think to ensure that this doesn't happen again, we need to learn from what we've witnessed during this campaign, get the best minds together, and put some resources behind looking at our fair campaign ordinance and how we can strengthen it. firmly believe in freedom of speech. I'm a former journalist. There is nothing more important, but there has to be some way that we can address the personal attacks, and I hope that we can examine that.
Thank you. Will?
It just comes to me that we need to communicate just a little bit better. When I was walking door to door, it really helped just to talk to people. I was talking with Mary, owner of the Benicia Coffee Company. She really doesn't want a pot dispensary in her as her neighbor. Okay, Mary, let's talk about it. She said, not that I want her to have one either, but we want to talk about it. She offered to set up an appointment to talk with her. I talked with Larry over there. He hires 30 people in the industrial park. We're standing in the street. It's like it was ripped up and then they dumped gravel in it. When Larry understands what's going on, he feels a little bit better. My neighbor doesn't understand what's going on. I talk to him. I talk to the public works director. We know what's going on. People feel better. We're going to move forward with better communication.
Thank you. So this next round will begin with Kristina. Please address the unflattering photos in ads targeting one candidate.
How many words? Horrible. This is horrible. We're better than this, you know. Carrie's a lovely woman. She's a woman. She does not deserve that, nor do any of us. And, you know, the retaliation on both sides has just been ugly. So, horrible.
Carrie?
So that picture was poached off of Facebook on, I believe it was on my Facebook, my campaign Facebook account. And it was of one of the first meet and greets that I had. And the couple, the lovely couple that hosted that meet and greet, lifelong Republicans, Fox News watchers, and they had the mayor and the vice mayor and myself in their backyard so we could talk to their friends and family. We got together, we talk about local issues, and that's what the origin of that picture. And there's a lot of other more flattering pictures. I hope people can see those too.
Will?
I don't think they're women. I think they're ladies. You know, I walked Carrie to her car the other night. I opened the door for Kristina. I even walked the mayor home last night. You know, and I don't do social media, so I'm a better guy. You know, okay, that's what I think of those pictures.
Thank you. Lionel?
Sure. I mean, the photo was awful. It's terrible. It's offensive. I think you know, no one deserves that, especially, you know, Carrie. We've mentioned it before, and I will restate it. People are entitled to support a candidate, support a cause. We agree, we disagree, but I think it's important that we also understand that there are boundaries. And I think, you know, going forward, I think the next city council, you know, has an opportunity to, you know, take some lessons from this and hear what these different points of views have to say and find the right way to bring balance, you know, bring this community together, because we can do that. But you know, I think campaigns should stay positive. I don't think anyone gets anything by not going negative.
Thank you. So this is our last question, and I'll begin with Carrie. It has been reported by political action committees that the Birdseye campaign is orchestrated by the mayor and others. Does your campaign endorse these conspiracy theories?
No. I have about 25 loyal volunteers that help me spread the word of my campaign. Every weekend going door to door, phone banking. It's a diverse group of people. One of my most regular walkers I met on the ferry, and he's a lifelong Republican, and he likes what I stand for. And so it's and he's in the back. Gary, thanks for coming out. So it's people that care about Benicia and the future of our town, and it's not orchestrated by anybody but me. I draw expertise from this person and this person and this person, you know, and I try to manage the best campaign that I can for the better of Benicia.
Thank you. Will?
Okay, I've addressed that question very closely. And the thing that I noticed last is that our vice mayor did not stand with the mayor on a recent decision. That some public officials are harder to get along with than most, but it doesn't mean that you go along with them. And so, based on what I've seen, there isn't a conspiracy.
Okay, Kristina?
There might not be a conspiracy, but there's perception. And the perception is there that Carrie's aligned with the mayor and the vice mayor. That's perception. I believe that Carrie is an independent thinker. She's proven to be her own person. And you know, I served up here for 5 years. There's a lot of things I voted with the mayor on. There's a lot of things that I had trouble and I had to go out and do my own research on, because I wanted to make sure my decision was my decision. And whoever gets elected up here, that is primary to the office. We can't be, you can listen to your constituents, but really they have voted you in to make the decision. And I believe that that is all of our responsibilities going forward. So I believe that Carrie will, if elected, be your own person.
Thank you. Lionel?
Could you repeat, was the question, what's the conspiracy in the PACs?
Right. It says
It was so hard to believe, I completely forgot what it was.
It has been reported by political action committees that Birdseye campaign is orchestrated by the mayor and others. Does your campaign endorse these conspiracy theories?
I follow. Well, here's what I do endorse. I endorse the notion, the reality, the God-given right that people are free to support whomever they want. It is natural for us to form alignments, and there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think there's a conspiracy. You know, I'm aligned with many people in this community, and I'm proud of that. That is a good thing. So yeah, I don't think there's any conspiracy here. But what I will add is, while I have a base of support that I am confident will get me through Election Day and on to the next council, the first step is to expand that base and hear and take different points of views. Those are good things in Benicia. One of the things I've been ridiculed for is kind of positioning myself as a member of the radical middle. Well, that's really that's the approach I want to bring to the next city council.
Okay, thank you. So we've concluded the questions, so now you have 2 minutes for a closing statement, and we'll begin with Will.
Okay, that you should vote for me because I can bring this community together. I'm looking on my right at a nurse who was so excited about the union that she was going to become a labor attorney. And on my left, I'm looking at the president of a very powerful trade union. and they're sitting on both sides of the hall. And I'm looking straight down here, and I'm looking at Bob Livesey, oops, out there. He was so angry the other day, he couldn't remain in the hall. He went out into the foyer. I didn't want him to leave. He denies that he's mad. Bob, come on. And so he leaves. I don't want anybody to leave the hall. I am the eldest person here. Believe it or not, I've seen a whole lot of things that I hope that you never see. And one thing that I hope all of us see is that we somehow bring this community together. That even Marilyn O'Rourke says it's always been hard to make a decision in Benicia. Well, that was then, and this is now. The time is to come together just a little bit. And I know we will, because we're going to come together and walk out that door into another Benicia at the end of this forum.
Thank you. Lionel?
Yes. I want to thank everyone for coming out. That got off to a real wild start, but I think we've kind of centered into a nice, calm place. And I think that is a reflection of this community, its residents, and that at the end of the day, I think most people get it. We're all neighbors. With respect to the topic, a lot has been discussed about the mail pieces, the phone calls, but there was also another universe of things that were discussed offline, or online, I should say. And for those who have doubts, questions, who are watching at home, I want you to understand two very important things. I have two obligations. One, it is to the people of Benicia first and always. And the second is the obligation to be objective, to listen, and to give an equal opportunity to any resident, guest, or stakeholder that comes to Benicia seeking to partner, to work, to build, and so forth. You know, this is a great community. It's an active community, certainly as measured by the attendance here. I think it goes without saying that I encourage everyone to vote for whomever. Just vote. And I think that's one of the great things, you know, about Benicia. I'm here to wrap up, to ask for your vote. If you are looking for a candidate that is going to keep Benicia safe and family friendly, preserve her history and heritage, find solutions to rising water and sewer costs, and expand road repair to areas that haven't seen anyone for 20 years, and do that through economic development rather than higher taxes and fees, then I humbly ask for your support on Election Day. And once again, thank you very much for coming out this morning.
Thank you. Kristina?
Thank you. Many of you know me in different capacities. I'm a small business owner on First Street. I've had a business there for 13 years, Kristina S. I'm one of the long-time businesses down there now, which is good and bad, but we've got a new generation that's coming into our town. It's exciting. We've seen 3 new businesses open, the One House Bakery, the Farm and Flower, and Bella Sienna. This to me shows such positive energy moving forward. I have tried to, in this campaign, as I say, stay positive. I tried some different things. I went on TV. I had 2 commercials. That was a humbling experience. I'm never in front of the camera, I'm behind the camera, so to see yourself, it was, like I say, humbling. I just ran a Facebook photo album of businesses that I support. I support business in Benicia that has been very popular. People like seeing themselves, seeing the different types of businesses we have in the downtown and also in the industrial park. I only did 1 mailer this time, mainly because there's so much mail out there that people don't really even look at it. But what I tried to do is do 10 points that not only what I want to do, but backing it up with how to do it. I walked and knocked, but the person behind me was my husband, Scott. He was out there many days without me. He is on a mission to knock on every door in this town. And come hell or high water, he's going to make me do it too. No, but it's a wonderful experience to knock on the door and get positive and just get feedback. I've attended 6 forums. This is the last one, and the one that I'm very proud of is the one we did at the high school, which I helped set up. Can I just make a real closing thing? I attended the vigil on Thursday night where we all held hands and said, "We will overcome." I hope that happens sometime.
Thank you. Carrie?
Bonnie, you know, there hasn't been a picture of all of us together that I have seen, but now is the time to do that. We could go out there and get our pictures taken
Well,
together.
I'm going to ask you to please let Carrie do her closing statement.
Okay.
I like the idea well. Despite the ugly campaign we've endured the past few months, I am filled with hope, optimism, and passion for my continued service to this community. I'm prepared, win or lose, to continue my volunteer service to make Benicia the best that it can be. And I do that for our senior citizens, our true working families, and the generations of Benicians to come. I have been focused and will remain focused on the positive messages and reasons why I chose to run and to take action during these trying times. Those priorities from the beginning have been to diversify our tax base, to maintain access to clean water and clean air, and become your good neighbor in City Hall. My disappointment of this election season is not a personal one. It is how the smear campaign will affect future local elections and the hopes and aspirations of future leaders of our communities. Because of the big money coming in from outside, Benicia will not have a fair election process this year. What about in 2020 and beyond? In 2018, our election process was stolen from the Benicia voters. It was bought and paid for by Sacramento building trades. While the abuse was focused on me, the true victims are the voters who were bombarded with lies and unflattering portrayal of my contributions as a future city council person. I hope this morning's forum has been enlightening and informative, and I look forward to talking to as many Benicians as I can share the truth. We will continue to go door to door. We will continue to call you until the polls are closed. I hope I can count on your support and become one of your next city council members who will create jobs and will work for a prosperous Benicia for us all. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Carrie.
That's okay. We've concluded. Thank you all for coming. We have to finish our meeting. You're welcome to stay or you're welcome to leave. I'll give you a few minutes if you'd like to leave.
Do we have to stay here?
No, do we?
what do we know about that nutcase that was up there yelling? Okay, I don't care.
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting back to order. Comments from commission members.
Go ahead, Larry. Put your mic on.
Hello. Okay. Oh, I do. I was going to thank the people for coming, and especially the candidates. In my book, every one of them are winners, and so is the city, whoever wins, because they want to offer their talents, their expertise here to make the city better. I wanted to tell them that, but that's okay. I think they understood.
Zoe?
I was just going to say I'm glad that we were able to allow everyone to participate today in spite of some of the negativity that was surrounded by that, but that was the purpose of this forum. So I'm hoping and hopeful that the candidates feel like they were able to say what they needed to say in spite of what others may have been saying for them. So thank you for that opportunity.
Okay, future agenda items. Do we have any future agenda items?
We do not, besides our usual things, like the farmer's market that'll be coming up, Law Day, things like that. We'll have our next meeting scheduled as soon as our replacement commissioner is appointed.
It is my pleasure to adjourn this meeting.
All right.
Donna.